The humans are coming. 4 simple words that sent our entire Galactic Council into complete panic. I have never seen so many tentacles flailing at once. You'd think someone had announced free dessert in the cafeteria, except with more screaming and considerably more evacuation protocols. My name is Vrax Tull, Senior Communications Officer of the Galactic Alliance, and I'm what you might call the unluckiest alien in the universe. Why? Because I'm the one who heard them first. I'm the one who has to explain to everyone how I managed to miss the fact that a supposedly primitive species had not only developed faster than light technology, but had apparently been listening to our transmissions for, about 300 cycles. Let me back up a bit. Humans weren't supposed to be a problem. They were just another bipedal mammalian species on a watery little planet in an unremarkable solar system. We've been monitoring them, of course. The Alliance monitors all potentially spacefaring species. It's standard procedure. We watch, we wait, we see if they destroy themselves before they reach the stars. You'd be surprised how many do. Humans were placed in the likely to annihilate themselves before achieving interstellar travel category about 200 cycles ago. There was even a betting pool. Most money was on nuclear holocaust, with climate disaster coming in a close second. You don't understand the gravity of the situation, Officer Tull, said Grand Counselor Nespax, his 7 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of extreme stress among the Zulurian species. How long have they been monitoring our communications? I checked my notes, trying to look professional despite the cold sweat oozing from my pores. Based on the message we received, they have been intercepting and decoding our transmissions for approximately 300 cycles, sir. 300 cycles. His voice hit a pitch that made my audio receptors throb. That's impossible. Their technology was primitive. They were still burning fossil fuels. Apparently they were more advanced than our reports indicated, I said, stating the blindingly obvious. The message we received was sent using quantum entanglement communication. Technology we believed they were at least 100 cycles away from developing. The council chamber fell silent. Quantum entanglement communication was no small feat. It meant instant communication across vast distances with no way to intercept the message. We'd only perfected it ourselves about 500 cycles ago. What exactly did the message say? Asked Counselor Yuri Lum, her feathers rustling anxiously. I cleared my throat and read from my datapad. The message begins with "to the esteemed members of what you call the Galactic Alliance," and then continues. We have been listening for a while now. Your encryption isn't as good as you think it is. We know you have been watching us. We know you have been betting on our extinction. We know you have been discussing whether to initiate first contact or just quarantine our solar system indefinitely. We thought it was time to introduce ourselves properly. The humans are coming. Prepare accordingly. That's it? Counselor Lom's feathers flattened against her body. That's the entire message? Yes, Counselor. It sounds like a threat, muttered another council member. Or a warning, suggested Counselor Lom. Or a joke, I said, earning several glares. What? Humans are known for their unusual sense of humor. Grand Counselor Pax slammed his appendage on the table. This is no time for levity, Officer Tull. If humans have quantum entanglement technology, what else might they have? We need to know their capabilities, their intentions, their weaknesses. With all due respect, sir, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, if they have been listening to us for 300 cycles, they probably know all of our capabilities, intentions, and weaknesses. The room erupted into chaos again. Multiple species shouting in multiple languages, translation devices struggling to keep up. It was like a marketplace during discount season, but with more existential dread. Silence, bellowed Grand Counselor Pax, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. Officer Tull, you are the communications expert. How do we respond to this message? I blinked. Me? I'm not qualified to. You intercepted the message. You are the most familiar with human communication patterns. You will draft our response. Great. Fantastic. Wonderful. My career had just peaked, and it was all downhill from here. Either I'd be remembered as the hero who established peaceful relations with a potentially dangerous new species, or more likely, as the idiot who provoked the humans into vaporizing our homeworlds. No pressure. 3 rotations later, I found myself in my cramped office, surrounded by data screens displaying everything we knew about humans. It wasn't much, considering we'd basically written them off centuries ago. Still working on that response? Asked Tazcaw, poking his head through my doorway. Taz was from a gaseous species that didn't technically have a head, but he'd adopted a roughly humanoid form to make interspecies communication easier. He was also my best friend and the only person who didn't seem to blame me for the current crisis. No, I'm just sitting here for fun, watching my career implode in real time, I replied, gesturing to the mess of information around me. Did you know humans have over 7,000 languages? 7,000. We have been monitoring them in their dominant languages, but who knows what we have missed. Taz floated into my office, his gaseous form shifting colors in what I recognized as amusement. At least they contacted us in Galactic Standard. That's something. Yes, the bare minimum of courtesy before they potentially annihilate us all. You really think they'd do that? Taz asked, suddenly serious, his color shifting to a concerned blue. I sighed, leaning back in my chair. Honestly, I don't know, that's the problem. We have been watching them from a distance, making assumptions based on fragmented data. We have never really tried to understand them. What do you mean? I gestured to one of the screens. Look at their entertainment transmissions. Their movies and television shows. We have always dismissed them as primitive fiction. But what if they tell us something important about their psychology? Taz drifted closer to the screen. Like what? Like the fact that they are obsessed with stories about first contact with alien species. And in most of those stories, the aliens are either trying to conquer them or help them transcend to a higher plane of existence. And which are we? Neither. We were just observing them, but from their perspective, we might seem like sinister watchers in the dark. We have been intercepting their communications, studying them without consent, discussing their potential extinction. Put yourself in their position. Taz's form rippled thoughtfully. I see your point, so what are you going to say to them? I turned back to my blank message screen. The truth, I guess, that we are sorry for watching them without introducing ourselves. That we are not a threat, that we welcome them to the galactic community. Sounds good to me. The Council wants me to find out their military capabilities. Taz's color shifted to alarmed orange. That seems counterproductive. Exactly. It's like they want to provoke a conflict. I ran my hands over my facial ridges, a nervous habit. But here's what really bothers me. If humans have been listening to us for 300 cycles, why contact us now? Why not earlier? Why not later? What changed? Taz hovered silently for a moment. Maybe they finally understood enough about us to feel confident making contact? Or maybe they finally developed enough weapons to feel confident making threats, I muttered. You are overthinking this, Vrax. Am I? The Council is in panic mode. The defense fleet has been mobilized. Half the Alliance worlds are updating their planetary shields. All because of 4 words. The humans are coming. When you put it that way, it does sound a bit like an overreaction. I snorted. A bit? We don't even know if it's a threat. For all we know, they could be coming for a friendly visit, bringing gift baskets and cultural exchange programs. Gift baskets would be nice, Tez mused, his form shifting to a pleasant pink. I was about to respond when my communication terminal chimed, a new message, on the quantum entanglement channel, from Earth. Taz and I exchanged glances. Or rather, I glanced at him and he sort of pulsed anxiously in my direction. Should I call the Council? He asked. Let me see what it says first. I took a deep breath and opened the message. To Senior Communications Officer Vrax Tull of the Galactic Alliance, I read aloud. We notice you have been assigned to draft a response to our initial contact. We understand this places you in a difficult position. To facilitate more productive communication, we propose a direct dialogue rather than formal diplomatic exchanges. Your personal quanta communication frequency has been noted from Alliance records. We will contact you directly in 12 hours. This message is a courtesy notification. We look forward to speaking with you. Regards, Ambassador Zoe Lawson, Earth Diplomatic Corps. Taz's gaseous form contracted in shock. They know your name? Your personal communication frequency? Apparently they know everything, I said, feeling strangely calm despite the implications. They have been listening for 300 cycles, remember? Are you going to tell the Council? I considered this for approximately 2 seconds.
No.
No? But protocol clearly states, protocol can go jump into a black hole. The Council will just panic more and they will demand to take over the communication. And then they will say something diplomatic but condescending, and potentially provoke the very conflict they are afraid of. So what are you going to do? I straightened my posture, suddenly feeling more confident than I had in days. I'm going to talk to them, one sentient being to another. No politics, no posturing. It's career suicide? Probably, but it might also be our best chance at understanding what humans really want. Taz drifted nervously around my office. The council will have your hide for this. Only if they find out before I have something positive to report. I started clearing my schedule for the next rotation. I need you to cover for me if anyone asks. I'm deep in research, drafting the perfect response. This is a terrible idea, Taz said, but his color was shifting to a resigned purple. But I will help you. Someone has to make sure you don't accidentally start an interstellar war. That's the spirit. 12 hours later, precisely on schedule, my personal quantum communicator activated. I'd relocated to my living quarters, away from the prying eyes of the Alliance headquarters. My hands were trembling as I accepted the connection. A holographic image formed above my communicator, a human female, with dark skin and what appeared to be decorative fabric wrapped around her cranial hair. She was smiling, showing teeth in what I hoped was a friendly gesture rather than an aggressive display. Officer Vrax, Tull, I presume? Her voice was clear, her galactic standard perfect, though with an unusual melodic quality. Yes, I managed to say. And you are Ambassador Zoe Lawson? Please, call me Zoe. And may I call you Vrax? Of course. This was already going better than I'd expected. No threats, no demands, just polite conversation. I must admit I'm surprised by how well you speak our language. She laughed, a pleasant sound that somehow put me at ease. We have had 3 centuries to learn, though I should clarify, we are not speaking your language. We are both speaking Galactic Standard, which according to your own records, isn't native to your species either. That's correct. I was impressed by her knowledge. Ambassador Zoe, I have to ask. Your message to the Council. The humans are coming. It caused quite a stir. I imagine it did. Her expression became more serious. Perhaps it was too cryptic. That's one of the reasons I wanted to speak with you directly, to clarify our intentions. I would appreciate that very much. She nodded. The simple version is this. Humanity has developed interstellar travel capability. We have been expanding cautiously within our own star system and a few neighboring systems for the past 50 years. We have been aware of the Galactic Alliance for much longer, thanks to your rather extensive communications network, which you managed to decode. She smiled again. Your encryption was complex, but not impossible for dedicated teams working on it for generations. We have been patient. Why contact us now? I asked the question that had been bothering me. Because we are ready to join the galactic community, she said simply. We have reached a technological level where hiding our capabilities no longer makes sense. And frankly, we are tired of being discussed as a curiosity or a potential problem to be managed. I felt my facial ridges flush with embarrassment. About that, I should apologize. She waved a hand dismissively. No need. We understand the Alliance's caution regarding emerging species. We have observed your protocols with others, though I must say, the betting pool on our extinction was a bit, how should I put it, rude. It was unprofessional and disrespectful. I admitted. Not all of us participated. I'm glad to hear it. She leaned forward slightly. Now let's talk about what happens next. I know your council is concerned about our intentions. They fear we might be hostile. Are you? I asked bluntly. She didn't seem offended by the question. No, we have no desire for conflict, but we also have no desire to be patronized, quarantined, or restricted in our development. We want to join the Alliance as equals, not as a primitive species to be guided and monitored. That might be difficult for some council members to accept. Because of our relative youth as a spacefaring civilization. Partially, I admitted. Some species have been part of the Alliance for thousands of cycles. They value experience. Age doesn't always equate to wisdom, she said, but we are willing to be patient, to prove ourselves. That's why I'm speaking to you first, Vrax. The Council sees us as a potential threat. You see us as potential friends. Am I right? I was startled by her perception. How did you know that? We have been monitoring Alliance communications, remember? Your reports on human culture have always been more nuanced, more curious than fearful. You have advocated for contact rather than quarantine multiple times. I felt exposed, knowing they had been reading my reports, my personal assessments. It's my job to understand communication patterns. And you are good at your job, she smiled again. Which is why I'm proposing something unconventional. Instead of formal diplomatic exchanges which could take cycles to establish basic trust, I'd like to invite you to Earth. Me? I nearly choked. I'm not a diplomat. No, you are something more valuable. You are a communicator. Someone who wants to understand. We are extending this invitation to a small number of Alliance representatives, but you are the first we are asking. My mind was racing. An invitation to Earth. To see the human homeworld firsthand? It was unprecedented. It was also potentially attractive. As if reading my thoughts, Zoe continued. You would be under no obligation. You would have full communication access to the Alliance at all times. You would be free to leave whenever you wished. Consider it a cultural exchange. A first step. The Council would never approve. The Council doesn't need to know yet. Not until you have seen for yourself that we pose no threat. I should have refused immediately. This was so far beyond protocol that I couldn't even see protocol from here. But curiosity has always been my greatest weakness. When would this visit take place? I heard myself asking. We have a vessel approaching Alliance space now. It can rendezvous with your station in approximately 7 rotations. 7 rotations. That was barely enough time to get my affairs in order, let alone secure Council approval for an unauthorized trip to a potentially hostile world. I will need to think about this, I said. Of course. She nodded understanding. But don't take too long, our ship will arrive regardless. It would be better if it were greeted by a friendly face rather than a defensive fleet. With that ominous statement, she ended the transmission, leaving me alone with the biggest decision of my life. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? I paced my quarters arguing with myself. Going to Earth without Council approval would end my career, possibly my life if humans turned out to be hostile after all. But refusing the invitation could lead to a diplomatic disaster when the human ship arrived. By morning I'd made my decision. I contacted Taz. I need your help, I told him, my voice low even though my quarters were secure. Why do I get the feeling I'm going to regret this? He sighed, his gaseous form swirling anxiously. Because you know me too well. I quickly explained the situation and my plan. You are going to Earth? Without permission? Have you lost your mind? His color shifted rapidly through shock, concern, and finally resigned acceptance. Of course you have, and of course I'm going to help you. What do you need? Cover for my absence. Tell everyone I'm working on a special project for the Council. It won't hold forever, but it might buy me enough time. And if the human ship arrives and causes a panic, I will be on it, hopefully preventing that very panic. I started packing essentials into a small bag. I have sent a message to Zoe, accepting her invitation. A shuttle will pick me up from the outer maintenance dock in 6 hours. Tadzzy's form condensed with worry. 6 hours. That's not enough time. It's all the time we have. The maintenance dock is scheduled for routine service then. No one will notice a small shuttle during the chaos. This is madness, Taz said, but he was already helping me pack. What should I tell people if they ask specific questions about your whereabouts? Tell them I'm pursuing a promising lead on human communication patterns. It's not even a lie. Taz emitted what passed for a laugh in his species. You are either the bravest or the most foolish person I know. Why not both? I checked my quantum communicator one last time. Keep this frequency open. I will contact you when I can. You'd better. His form shifted to a deep blue of concern. Be careful, Vrax. We know almost nothing about these humans despite centuries of observation. That's exactly why someone needs to go. I sealed my bag. Better me than a military scout or a suspicious diplomat. 6 hours later I stood at the maintenance dock, watching the service crews work on the station's external sensors. No one paid attention to me. Why would they? I was just another bureaucrat with a datapad presumably checking inventory or scheduling. At precisely the scheduled time, a small disturbance appeared in space about 100 meters from the dock. A ripple, like heat haze, and then a vessel simply appeared. It was unlike any ship I'd ever seen, sleek, dark, with no visible propulsion system. It was also completely absent from our detection systems, as if it wasn't even there. A small hatch opened on its side. An invitation. I took a deep breath, checked that no one was watching, and jumped. The zero-gravity carried me smoothly to the waiting ship. As soon as I was inside, the hatch sealed behind me. "Welcome aboard, Officer Tull," said a voice in perfect galactic standard, not Zoe's voice, but similar in its friendly tone. "Please secure yourself for departure. We will be leaving Alliance space momentarily." I found what appeared to be a seating apparatus and strapped myself in. There were no windows, no view screens, just smooth, dark surfaces that somehow felt both technological and organic. "How long until we reach Earth?" I asked. "Approximately 12 hours," replied the voice. "Ambassador Lawson is eager to meet you in person." 12 hours? That was impossible. Earth was thousands of light years away from Alliance space. Even our fastest ships would take weeks to make the journey. "I think there must be a mistake," I said carefully. "The distance is considerable." "Yes," the voice agreed, "but our propulsion system operates differently than yours." I'd explain, but I have been informed that the technical details might be unsettling to Alliance sensibilities. Unsettling. What did that mean? What kind of technology could cross thousands of light years in hours? I felt a slight vibration, and then nothing. No sensation of movement at all. "We have left Alliance space," the voice informed me. "You may move freely about the cabin now. Refreshments compatible with your biology have been provided." I cautiously unstrapped myself and explored my surroundings. The cabin was small but comfortable, with what appeared to be food, drink, and entertainment options. As I settled in for the journey, a thought kept circling in my mind. What had I gotten myself into? And more importantly, what would I find when I reached Earth? The humans had been silent for centuries, watching, listening, learning. And now they were ready to talk. I just hoped I'd like what they had to say. The 12-hour journey passed in a blur of anxiety, curiosity, and periodic naps. The ship's AI or whatever was speaking to me was polite but evasive about most of my questions. Yes, humans had faster-than-light technology. No, they wouldn't explain how it worked. Yes, Earth was expecting me. No, they wouldn't tell me exactly what would happen when I arrived. Super helpful. I spent most of the time reviewing what little data we had on humans, trying to prepare myself for whatever awaited me. Their physical characteristics I knew well enough: bipedal, varied skin tones, hair on their heads, remarkably adaptable biology. But their culture, their true intention, those remained mysteries. "Approaching Earth orbit," announced the ship's voice, jolting me from my thoughts. "Please secure yourself for arrival procedures." I scrambled back to my seat and strapped in. "Will there be customs, immigration, some sort of processing?" "Ambassador Lawson will meet you personally," was the only reply. Suddenly, a section of the wall became transparent, revealing a view screen. Or perhaps it was an actual window. I couldn't tell with their technology. Either way, it offered me my first real glimpse of humanity's homeworld. Earth was blue. Strikingly vibrantly blue, with swirling white clouds and patches of green and brown. It looked so peaceful from orbit, so unthreatening. Hard to believe this planet had produced a species capable of secretly monitoring our communications for centuries. The ship descended through the atmosphere with barely a tremor. The view changed rapidly: clouds, then sky, then a sprawling urban landscape unlike anything I'd seen before. Structures of various shapes and sizes, some reaching impressively skyward, others spreading horizontally across the landscape. Vehicles moved in organized patterns along designated pathways. We landed on a platform atop one of the taller structures. As the ship settled, I noticed a small group of humans waiting. 4 of them, dressed in formal-looking attire. One I recognized immediately from our quantum communication, Zoe Lawson. "We have arrived," said the ship's voice. "Welcome to Earth, Officer Tull. Please proceed to the exit when ready." Ready? I'd never be ready. But I unstrapped myself anyway and moved toward the hatch as it opened, letting in a rush of Earth air. It smelled complex, different from the recycled atmosphere of space stations or the carefully balanced environments of Alliance worlds. I stepped out, blinking in the natural sunlight, and approached the waiting humans. "Officer Vrax Tull," said Zoe Lawson, stepping forward with a smile. "Welcome to Earth. Thank you for accepting our invitation, especially given the unofficial nature of your visit." "You know about that?" I asked, surprised. "Of course. We are still monitoring Alliance communications, remember?" She gestured to her companions. "Allow me to introduce Director Marcus Bailey of Earth Defense, Dr. Ileana Patel, our xenobiologist, and Jack Reeves, my assistant." I nodded to each in turn, noting their varied appearances. Bailey was tall with light skin and gray hair, his expression stern. Patel had brown skin and dark hair pulled back tightly, her eyes examining me with undisguised scientific interest. Reeves was shorter, with a friendly face and unusual red hair. "A pleasure to meet you all," I said, attempting the human gesture of a slight bow. "Though I must admit I'm still not entirely clear on why I'm here." "All in good time," said Zoe. "First, let's get you settled. You must be tired after your journey." "Not really," I admitted. "Your ship is remarkably comfortable. And quick." Director Bailey made a sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. "Yes, we have made some advancements in propulsion technology." "Some advancements?" I couldn't help myself. "You just casually violated everything we thought we knew about physics." Dr. Patel smiled. "Not violated, just expanded upon. The universe has more possibilities than your science has explored." That was both fascinating and vaguely insulting. But before I could respond, Zoe gestured toward a door leading from the landing platform. "Let's continue this conversation inside. The sun can be intense for visitors not accustomed to our atmosphere." I followed them into the building, which was blessedly cooler. The interior was spacious and well lit, with large windows offering panoramic views of the city. "This is our diplomatic center," Zoe explained as we walked. "It was built specifically for eventual contact with non-Earth species." "You have been planning this for a while then," I observed. "Centuries," said Director Bailey flatly. "Ever since we first intercepted Alliance transmissions and realized we weren't alone." We entered a comfortable meeting room with a large, oval table. The various refreshments were arranged on a side table, including some that appeared specifically designed for my biology. "Please, make yourself comfortable," said Zoe, indicating a chair that looked modified to accommodate my physiology. "Would you like something to drink? Eat?" "Just answers, for now," I replied, taking the seat. Starting with the obvious one, why me? Why not approach the Council directly? The humans exchanged glances before Zoe spoke. "The Council's established protocols for contact with emerging species are problematic from our perspective. Condescending and restrictive," added Bailey bluntly. "We have observed how other newly contacted species are treated," Zoe continued. "Limited access to technology, restricted travel rights, centuries of guided development before being granted full membership in the Alliance." I shifted uncomfortably. She wasn't wrong. Those protocols are designed to prevent potentially disruptive technologies from challenging the established power structure, interrupted Bailey. "Let's not pretend it's about safety." "Marcus," Zoe said warningly, "we agreed to be diplomatic." "Diplomatic doesn't mean dishonest," he countered, but subsided. Zoe turned back to me. "What Director Bailey is trying to say is that humanity isn't interested in being patronized or controlled. We have developed our technology independently and, quite frankly, in some areas we have surpassed the Alliance." "Like your propulsion system," I said. "Among other things," Dr. Patel added with a smile that somehow made me nervous. "So, what exactly do you want?" I asked directly. "If not Alliance membership under standard protocols. We want a different kind of relationship," said Zoe, "an equal partnership, recognition of our sovereignty, and free exchange of knowledge and resources." "The Council will never agree to that," I said automatically. "The protocols exist for a reason. New species often don't understand the complex interstellar politics or the potential consequences of certain technologies." "We have been studying your complex interstellar politics for 3 centuries, said Bailey dryly. "I think we have a pretty good grasp." I had to concede that point. Even so, the Council is traditional, conservative, even. They won't easily set aside established protocols, especially for a species they have only just learned exists as a spacefaring civilization. "Which is why we approached you first," said Zoe. "We need an advocate within the Alliance, someone who can help the Council see that traditional approaches won't work with humanity." "And you think that's me?" A mid-level communications officer? A communications officer with 7 commendations for cultural sensitivity and innovative diplomatic approaches. Jack Reeves spoke up for the first time. Someone who has consistently argued for more open contact policies. Someone respected enough to be listened to but not so entrenched in the system that you can't think differently. I blinked, surprised by how thoroughly they'd researched me. You have been reading my personnel file. Among other things, said Reeves with a grin. Officer Tull. Zoe leaned forward, her expression earnest. Vrax. We brought you here to show you the truth about humanity. Not the limited data the Alliance has collected from a distance, but who we really are. Our strengths, yes, but also our values. We believe once you understand us better, you will help us make our case to the Council. And if I don't, if I see something here that convinces me humanity isn't ready for the kind of relationship you are proposing, then we return you to the Alliance. No harm done, she said simply. We are not holding you hostage or attempting to coerce you. This is an invitation to learn, nothing more. I considered her words carefully. It seemed reasonable enough, but something still bothered me. There's one thing I don't understand. If you have had this technology for decades, why stay hidden? Why wait until now to reveal yourselves? The humans exchanged glances again, something unspoken passing between them. That, said Director Bailey, is a complicated question. One best answered after you have seen more of Earth. Consider today an orientation, added Zoe smoothly. Tomorrow, we begin the real tour. The orientation consisted of settling me into comfortable guest quarters, providing me with a communication device that could translate any human language I encountered, and allowing me to rest. Which I tried to do, but sleep proved elusive. My mind kept circling back to the same questions. What weren't they telling me? What would the real tour reveal? And most importantly, what would I tell the Council when I eventually returned? If I returned, no, that was paranoid thinking. The humans had been nothing but hospitable. If they meant me harm, why bring me all the way to Earth? Why not just eliminate me in space where no one would ever know? Unless they wanted information from me first. A chime at my door interrupted my spiraling thoughts. Yes? I called out. The door slid open to reveal Jack Reeves, the Ambassador's assistant. Evening, Officer Tull. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Not at all, I gestured him in. And please call me Vrax. Vrax it is. He entered, carrying what appeared to be a data device. Ambassador Lawson asked me to provide you with some preliminary information before tomorrow's tour. Background on the places you will be visiting, cultural context, that sort of thing. I'd appreciate that. I indicated a seating area. The more I understand, the better. He sat down and activated the device, which projected a holographic display between us. We will be visiting 3 main locations tomorrow: a science facility, a cultural center, and a residential community. Each represents an important aspect of human society we'd like you to experience firsthand. As he spoke, the hologram displayed images of each location. The science facility looked impressively advanced, the cultural center vibrant with activity, and the residential area peaceful and green. It all looks very pleasant, I said cautiously. Jack laughed. You are wondering if we are just showing you the good parts, the carefully curated highlights of humanity. The thought had crossed my mind. Fair enough. He adjusted the projection. Look, I'm going to be straight with you because I think that's what you need right now. Yes, we are showing you the better aspects of our civilization. Every species does that during first contact. I doubt the Alliance shows new species the poverty and conflict that still exist on some member worlds. I had to admit he was right about that. But he continued, we are not hiding our flaws either. Humanity isn't perfect. We still have inequality, environmental challenges, political disagreements. We are just not centering our introduction to the galactic community around our problems. Reasonable, I acknowledged, but that still doesn't answer my earlier question. Why reveal yourselves now after hiding your capabilities for so long? Jack's expression became more serious. That's not really my place to explain. The ambassador will address that tomorrow, but I can tell you it's not for any sinister reason. That's not particularly reassuring. I know. He stood up. Look, get some rest. Tomorrow will be enlightening. I promise. And Vrax? Despite all the secrecy and the unorthodox approach, we genuinely want this to go well. Humanity has been waiting a long time to join the wider galactic community. After he left, I spent another hour reviewing the information he'd provided before finally managing to sleep. My dreams were filled with strange human faces and technology that defied understanding. The next morning began with a journey to the science facility. We traveled in a sleek vehicle that hovered above the ground, moving at impressive speeds through the city and then into a more rural area. Zoe accompanied me along with Dr. Patel, who would apparently be our guide at the facility. "What exactly does this place research?" I asked as we approached a complex of elegant white buildings nestled against a mountain. "Everything," replied Dr. Patel with evident pride. "The Phoenix Institute is our premier multidisciplinary research center. Physics, biology, medicine, computer science, anthropology. If humans study it, it's studied here." The vehicle stopped at an entrance, and we disembarked. Security was visible but not intrusive as we entered the main building. "We will start with the physics department," said Dr. Patel, leading us down a corridor. "I believe you had questions about our propulsion technology." "Among other things," I replied. We entered a large laboratory space where several humans were working with equipment I didn't recognize. A tall, thin human with silver hair approached us. "Dr. Patel, Ambassador." He nodded to them before turning to me. "And you must be Officer Tull. I'm Dr. Walter Klein, Head of Theoretical Physics." "A pleasure," I said. "I understand you might be able to explain how your ships can travel faster than light without apparent propulsion or warp signatures." Dr. Klein smiled. "I can try, though some concepts don't translate perfectly between our scientific paradigms." He led us to a holographic display. "The simplest explanation is that we don't travel through space as you understand it. We step sideways." The display showed a representation of normal space folded like a piece of paper, traditional FTL technology, like your Alliance ships use, warp space to bring 2 points closer together. Effective, but energy-intensive and detectable. Our approach is different. We discovered that what you call normal space is just one layer of a multidimensional construct. I watched as the display showed a ship seemingly disappearing from one point and reappearing at another. "You are moving between dimensions." "In a manner of speaking," Dr. Klein nodded. "We slip into what we call phase space, a dimension that intersects with normal space but operates under different physical laws. Distance works differently there. Then we re-emerge at our destination." Dr. Patel added, "The technology requires precise calculations and specialized equipment, but it's far more efficient than conventional FTL drives. And completely undetectable to Alliance sensors," I noted, "which explains how you have been able to explore space without us noticing." "Exactly," said Dr. Klein, "though our exploration has been limited and cautious. We didn't want to accidentally intrude on alien territories or reveal ourselves prematurely." "This is remarkable," I admitted, "but also concerning. The strategic implications alone are precisely why we are approaching this carefully," Zoe interjected. "We understand that this technology in the wrong hands could be destabilizing. That's one reason we have kept it to ourselves until now." The tour continued through various departments, each revealing technological advances that ranged from impressive to frankly alarming. Medical techniques that could extend human lifespans significantly, artificial intelligence systems that bordered on true sentience, ecological engineering that could transform hostile environments into habitable ones in a fraction of the time Alliance technology required. By the time we left the Phoenix Institute, my head was spinning with implications. Humanity wasn't just advanced in some areas, they were generations ahead of the Alliance. No wonder they balked at the idea of being treated as an emerging species. Our next stop was the Cultural Center, a sprawling complex in the heart of the city. Here, the focus shifted from technology to art, history, and social structures. "We wanted you to see that we are not just our technology," Zoe explained as we walked through galleries displaying everything from ancient artifacts to contemporary digital art. "Humanity has a rich cultural heritage that spans thousands of years." "It's impressive," I acknowledged, studying a musical instrument from what they called their Renaissance period. Though the Alliance has member species with much longer histories. "Length isn't everything," said Jack Reeves, who had joined us at the Cultural Center. "It's what you do with the time you have." I'm fairly certain that was a joke, but I decided to ignore it. What strikes me, I said instead, is the diversity. Even within your single species, you have so many different cultural expressions. That's humanity's greatest strength, said Zoe passionately. We are not a monolith, we have thousands of languages, belief systems, artistic traditions. We argue, we disagree, we see the world differently. But we have learned to work together despite those differences, sometimes even because of them. That's not what the Alliance records suggest, I pointed out. Our historical monitoring shows numerous conflicts, wars even, between human factions. Yes, Zoe didn't deny it. We have had our share of darkness, but look around you. We survived it. We learned from it. We are still learning. The final stop of the day was the residential community, a planned settlement that housed approximately 20,000 humans in what appeared to be comfortable, sustainable conditions. We walked through parks and community spaces, observing humans going about their daily lives. This is Harmony Grove, explained Zoe, one of our newer communities, designed with both human needs and environmental sustainability in mind. It seems peaceful, I observed, watching young humans playing in a grassy area while older ones sat nearby monitoring their activities. It is mostly, Zoe smiled. Though if you were here on what we call a local council meeting night, you might hear some spirited debates about park maintenance schedules or noise regulations. We stopped at a small cafe, taking seats at an outdoor table. A server brought beverages suitable for all of us. For a moment we sat in silence, watching the activity around us. I think it's time I answered your question, Zoe said finally, about why we are revealing ourselves now after hiding for so long. I set down my drink, giving her my full attention. The simple answer is we had no choice, she said. Our phase space technology, while revolutionary, has revealed something concerning. Something that affects not just humanity, but all sentient life in our galaxy. What do you mean? Director Bailey, who had rejoined us at the residential community, leaned forward. While traveling through phase space, our ships detected anomalies, disturbances that shouldn't be there. After extensive investigation, we determined they were caused by another intelligence, something moving through phase space, but not from our universe. Another intelligence? I felt a chill despite the warm day. You mean aliens? Different from us, from Alliance species. Extradimensional beings, clarified Dr. Patel. We don't know much about them yet, but we know they are aware of our dimension and they are interested in it. Interested how? We are not certain, said Zoe. But based on the patterns of disturbance, they appear to be sampling, taking small pieces of our reality back to theirs, and the sampling is increasing in frequency and size. I sat back trying to process this information. And you believe these beings pose a threat? We believe they represent an unknown, said Bailey, and unknowns should be approached with caution and preparation, which is why we need the Alliance, added Zoe. Humanity is advanced. Yes, but we are still just one species. If these entities prove hostile, we will need allies, and the Alliance needs to know what might be coming. So that's why you contacted us, I said, understanding dawning. Not just to join the galactic community, but to warn us. Both, Zoe nodded. We genuinely want peaceful relations with the Alliance, but yes, we also need to prepare together for whatever these extra-dimensional beings might represent. That's why we can't accept the standard protocols for emerging species. We don't have centuries to gradually integrate. We need full partnership now. I considered everything I'd seen and heard over the past 2 days, the advanced technology, the cultural richness, and now this potential threat from beyond our understanding of reality itself. The Council will be skeptical, I said finally. They will want proof of these entities. We can provide data, said Dr. Patel, and if necessary, demonstrations of the technology that detected them. They will also be concerned about your unilateral development of phase space technology, about what other technologies you might have developed in secret. We understand that, Zoe acknowledged. We are prepared to be transparent going forward, but we won't accept restrictions on our development or movement. Those are non-negotiable. I nodded slowly. I understand your position better now, and I believe you are sincere about wanting peaceful relations and mutual defense. So you will help us? Zoe asked, hope evident in her voice. I will present your case to the Council, I said carefully. I will advocate for a different approach than our standard protocols, but I can't promise they will agree. That's all we ask, said Zoe, relief clear on her face. A fair hearing, a chance to forge a new kind of relationship. There's one more thing, I added. I need to contact my government. They are probably in panic mode by now, wondering where I have disappeared to. Zoe smiled. Of course, we can arrange a secure quantum communication immediately. As we left the cafe and headed back toward the diplomatic center, I found myself thinking about the message that had started all this. The humans are coming. It had seemed ominous, possibly threatening. Now I understood it differently. The humans were coming not as conquerors or supplicants, but as equals, as allies against an unknown threat, as new voices in a galactic conversation that had perhaps grown too comfortable, too set in its ways. I looked around at the human city, at the life and activity surrounding us. They were strange, these humans, younger than most Alliance species, yet in some ways more advanced, divided among themselves yet unified in purpose, cautious enough to hide their capabilities for centuries, yet bold enough to reach out when a greater danger threatened. They would change the Alliance, of that I had no doubt. The question was whether the Alliance was ready to change, and whether any of us were ready for what might be coming from beyond the dimensions we understood. Taz is going to love this story, I muttered to myself as we boarded the vehicle that would take us back to the diplomatic center. Your gaseous friend? Asked Zoe with a smile. The one who's covering for your unauthorized trip? I sighed. Of course they knew about Ted's too. Yes, though he may never speak to me again once he learns what I have gotten us all into. Interdimensional beings from beyond known reality. Dax suggested. Exactly. If it helps, said Zoe, you can tell him that humanity has a long history of facing the unknown, and so far, we have always found a way through. I hoped she was right, because if what they suspected about these extra-dimensional entities was true, we were all going to need that human optimism and ingenuity. The humans had been silent for centuries. Now they were speaking up, and their message was one the galaxy needed to hear. Ready or not, humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they were bringing news no one could afford to ignore.